boy, spied it up, we ain't got all day. I kid you not, this is like walking with 2-year-olds. Move your ass! Yes, just tap away. Lights, please. How difficult is it to set the lights? Silence, please. I said silence!
How the people are doing. So, oh yes, I've been waiting to do this review for so long because there's so much to talk about. And by the way, that intro, I'm fairly skeptical about it. I don't know if it's gonna stick or if it's gonna feel awkward. Just let me know how you feel. I'm trying something new, don't judge too hard. But regardless, let's jump into it because again, lots to talk about. So the design, bloody hell. The design is just damn. That's the best way to put it. There's maybe a few things I don't like. I'll get to that, but I gotta talk about this texture because it's phenomenal, beyond phenomenal. I've called a lot of things phenomenal. This goes way above and beyond that. I don't have the word for it. I'll figure it out soon. But yeah, to this date, I've never had to wipe the back. I only wipe the camera module for even B-rolls. That's how resistant to fingerprint smudges and grease this thing is. It's insane. It's hard to believe sometimes that it's even glass. I'm telling you, man, there's some bloody magic going on here that Vivo did, but I'm all about that. The matte finish is by far easily among the, if not the best that I've ever used in my life. Let's talk about the camera module. This camera module is it's probably my favorite camera module so far. I think the S21 Ultra also had something that was equally as good. It was different, very different from this. Also, the OnePlus series has a very good camera module. So I think this one is just up there with the S21 Ultra. Those are the two favorites that I've ever had. I don't think I can actually show you this because they are very small, but it's got these beautiful textured ridges on the circumference of the module, and it feels incredible when you hold it. It looks absolutely stunning. I think at this point you can tell I have no complaints about the design. Actually, I do. Professional photography written on the top rail. Why? Isn't the module enough of that? Like, I understand there's some text about Zeiss and sonar and all that jazz on the module itself. That's fine, but why write professional photography? That's cheesy. It's unnecessary. If we get it, it's all about the cameras. The camera is basically bigger than the phone itself. Why bother? Anyways, the front. So the front, see, this is very classic flagship design. And I say that for a very good reason, because apparently the new trend is regressing from flagship designs, which doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Yes, I'm talking about the S24 Ultra. I have the S24 Ultra, I'm using it currently. And yeah, that thing doesn't feel or look as good. It feels good in the hand, doesn't look as nice because the curved edges, they somehow, I don't exactly know what it is about them, but they give a very, very distinctive premium feel in the hand that makes you feel like you are indeed using a flagship. And I think that feeling is very important when you're paying the price of flagship, especially the S24 Ultra, which costs a hell of a lot of money, way more than the X100 over here, but yeah, it doesn't feel as premium as the X100 Pro. Yes, accidental touches can happen. They haven't really happened all that much for me, or maybe I'm just numb to it. I don't know. But yeah, I think curved displays, they just work. If you want to really reduce accidental touches, just reduce the curve, like we had on the S23 Ultra or the S21 Ultra. Those phones had very minute curves, but they had them, and that provided a look that was very important for the flagship design. That's basically the best way for me to put it. So, needless to say, I do indeed love this design. It just feels proper, and it feels very much like a flagship, unlike some devices, but yeah, I'll get to that in the S24's review. Anyways, the display. So the display is very interesting. So when this came out, like when it launched, I think it was the brightest display that we had. Think about it, this thing comes with 3000 nits and it does look incredible. Just everything about the display is fantastic. The 3000 nits, it's been overtaken by the S24 Ultra, which I believe it has 4500 nits. I mean, numbers aside, I can kind of tell the difference between the S24 Ultra and the X100 Pro, and yeah, I get it, I'm making a lot of references to that, but it's the latest flagship that I'm using right now and it just makes sense. But yeah, it was very interesting, that's all. Because everything else about the display is absolutely phenomenal. I don't really have any complaints here, to be entirely honest. It's very hard to complain about this device, and that bothers me. Even HDR content looks incredible. And in HDR, I actually didn't really notice that much difference between the X100 Pro and the S24 Ultra, just for reference. So it's only in the absolute ridiculous sunlight that you might see a difference, that you might feel that the S24 Ultra is all that brighter, but yeah, otherwise, you're not gonna complain about this one's display. That much I can tell you right now. Actually, you know what? There is something to complain about. This isn't exactly a part of the display. It is, physically speaking, but not really. I'm talking about the fingerprint scanner, essentially. It's just, it really bothers me that I had the opportunity to use the X80 Pro, which came out about 2 years ago, 2 generations ago, and that thing, bloody hell, that thing had the biggest, most accurate, fastest fingerprint scanner that I've ever used in my entire life. Even to this very date, nothing even got close to how good it felt to use the X80 Pro's fingerprint scanner. That thing was massive. I mean, if you know about it, you know that there's really nothing else like it. Now the problem is, Vivo decided to shift that beautiful, incredible, massive fingerprint scanner to the Pro Plus versions, which meant that the X90 Pro didn't have it. The Pro Plus apparently had it. And the X100 Pro also doesn't have it. Which, why? The Pro Plus usually doesn't even get released globally. We don't have access to the damn phone. And also the position matters because it's very low in the screen. Yes, I got used to it. It didn't take me very long. But yeah, it's still an inconvenience. So since we are on the display, let's talk about the software as well, because I know that that is a huge point of contention for so many people. And yes, we'll get to the cameras. The cameras, I'm gonna save the best for last. Simple as that. So FunTouch OS, it's a stupid name. Can we change that? Like Origin OS sounds so much better. That's the Chinese version. Give us something similar. When it comes to Android skins, I think this is up there with the One UI from Samsung, Oxygen OS from OnePlus. They are the absolute best, and this is right up there with them. That's my opinion. And you know what? It's contentious with Vivo's operating system because they used to be kind of clunky, but now I don't think that's the case anymore. Having used their OSs all this time, I think the user experience has improved by leaps and bounds. And I do believe that opinion does matter. If you are a firm believer that FunTouch OS is not for you, even if it gets good, it's not gonna be anything for you. I'll give you an example. I don't like iOS. I hate it. And you know, that's almost a controversial opinion because there are people who will die for iOS. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying, right? But I can't stand it. It's so limiting, and I could go on forever complaining about iOS, but I'm not going to. Can I get used to it? Yes. It's like, you know, yeah, point a gun to my head. I'll get used to it. Every bloody moment. Ever since I started using the phone, I enjoyed every moment, every second. It was fantastic. The customization, bloody incredible. It's almost as good as One UI. Maybe with One UI and good luck that Samsung has, that thing goes a little off the charts and a little crazy with customization. But this thing, it's up there, man, because you can change up the fingerprint icons, opening animation, the icon itself, face and logo icon, the animation, the charging port insertion animation, the whole thing. The dynamic effects are really something else. Is there some bloatware? Yes, there is some bloatware. And it took me 2 minutes to get rid of them, so I'm not even gonna complain about that. Maybe if you're, you know, not used to getting rid of bloatware, then it'll take you, at best, 10 minutes, tops. And then of course, we gotta talk about the performance side of things. See, I'm not a gamer. I don't like to game on smartphones. It doesn't work for me, so I don't do it. Simple as that. but I do use the camera a lot, which is very performance intensive. I do use photo editing apps a lot, which again, very intensive, and it just makes me think anyone that wants to just use their smartphone for regular activities, even a little bit of gaming, I can guarantee you're not gonna have any issues whatsoever. You can look up benchmarks and numbers, but by principle, I just don't trust this. I think they embellish problems that don't actually exist, or in some cases, they don't really tell the whole story. See, this is the thing. It's very difficult to complain about a device that is constantly nailing things. I expected performance to be a problem. I expected there to be maybe some stutters when I'm, really just scrolling around and doing a whole bunch of stuff, multitasking. But that's not the case. There were no stutters. It's absolutely smooth. It's pretty insane how smooth it was. I mean, even the wallpapers are so bloody good. You can have wallpapers that can go directly from the always on display to the lock screen and then to the home screen with a different animation, and when you unlock it directly and go to the home screen, it'll play out the whole animation absolutely smoothly with no stutters, no problems whatsoever. It's just, I cannot help but feel like I'm just making an ad for the X100 Pro, even though I'm trying to make a bloody review. Even the battery life on this thing is phenomenal. It's, again, up there with the best. Now, I don't think the standby is quite as good as, let's say, the iPhone. And I don't know how the S24 Ultra is gonna fare. I'll check that out later. But yeah, the battery life in general, you're gonna get easily 6.5 to 7 hours. Even when I use the cameras violently for camera comparisons, a massive amount of camera usage, way more than anyone would normally use the cameras for, because I'm taking like hundreds of images at once. I'm taking so many videos. I'm taking a lot of videos one after the other, like 4K, 4K 60, and then 8K all together, and neither heating nor battery life was a problem on any of those days. I'm talking about taking these videos in sunlight. Yeah, I get it, it's winter, but still, it's in sunlight. So with all of that said, I think it's pretty clear that Vivo put the heart and soul into the X100 Pro. It's sensational just how well-rounded it is. In every aspect, I can't really find anything particular to complain about. Before we get to the cameras, can we just talk about the unboxing experience? It's the best unboxing experience I've had thus far. You get a full-blown case, you get a screen protector, and yes, one complaint. Oh, finally I remembered. This phone does not have Gorilla Glass Victus or anything like that, which means, it can be a little bit less durable, but I don't really drop my devices, so I don't care about it. And you do get a screen protector pre-installed. We have fast charging bricks available in the box. And it's just, everything you need is given in a package, and it's a beautiful way to just round everything off. I'm telling you, the moment you buy the device, the moment you receive it, you're gonna have a fantastic time. And that is very important, and I think it's an aspect that many companies are just not focusing on anymore. Sorry, let's get back to the camera, shall we? Because that's the meat of the matter over here. So we have photography and videography. The photography side of things is where it gets very vehemently interesting, because there's just so much to talk about. I think I'm gonna make a camera review separately where I talk about just all the stuff this camera can provide from the camera software point of view and all that, just because there's a plethora of modes and a lot of those work exceptionally well. So the biggest advantage on the X100 is its sheer versatility. I've made more than enough camera compressors at this point. You can check all of them out, or even a few of them if you like. And the one thing that always stood out to me is that you can have your images looking basically exactly the way you want, especially when it comes to regular daylight images. You can have 3 different color profiles. Textured mode is very stylized for very specific situations. It can look incredible. You have nice natural colors, which, as the name indicates, very natural, and it's the most natural that I've ever used. Then you also get the vivid mode, which gives you, as the name indicates, very vivid, very vibrant colors if that's what you're into. Consistency, another incredible thing about this device. Every single shot you take, whether it's with the ultra wide, the main, the 2x sensor crop, the 4.3x telephoto, or the 10x, which is a hybrid crop, your images more than likely are gonna look absolutely incredible. The detail preservation on this thing is probably among the best there is. And yeah, I know it's again a little controversial for me to say that, because sharpening is a major factor that plays into the detail preservation on the X100 Pro. I think it's balanced enough to the point that it doesn't feel over sharpened. Now if you zoom into 1000%, then yeah, you'll see it. You'll see the sharpening, the haloing, but who the hell does that? When you take a regular shot, the detail preservation is simply phenomenal. There's no two ways about that. I feel it's very balanced. If you absolutely hate over sharpening through and through, then it might be a different story for you, but for me, I think it looks natural enough and sharpened enough to the point that it's like the best of both worlds. I also want to talk about the macro mode because that thing is incredible as well. The regular ultra wide macro mode works well. It looks really nice. It's absolutely exactly what you want. But then you can also use the 4.3x telephoto for macros. And yeah, the 4.3x telephoto, just the optical zoom, you can't get quite as close. You can get a very nice shot with zero distortion, a whole boatload of bokeh in the background, but you can't really get as close. But you can use a sensor crop on it, and that means you get a 9.6x crop, and that thing can get insanely close. Again, the detail preservation, the software processing is so damn good on the X100 Pro. Yeah, there's no two ways about it. It is absolutely incredible. The macro shots that I can take with it, I'm just very hard to complain about this device. I'm telling you over and over, this thing it's nailing way too much. And then we got portrait mode. Of course we have portrait, man. That thing is just something else. The amount of focal lengths that you have access to, and the ridiculous, the absolutely unhinged level of detail preservation that you can have. Like, I'm telling you, check out some of these camera comparisons I've made, the photography ones. The portrait mode situation, every single time it left my jaw on the bloody floor. Just for context, an 85mm shot, which is around a 3.7x crop. It's a crop from the main camera. And the detail preservation, it rivals some of the best optical zooms that we have. How crazy is that? I know, even as I'm saying it, I still feel it's crazy, even though I have definitive proof that this thing can nail those shots. This phone can somehow preserve enough detail to compete with optical level portraits, or optical zoom portraits at that level. That's what I meant to say. Anyways, you get my point, right? I'm flabbergasted. Now the night mode, see, this is where I have a bit of a gripe. It can be a personal opinion, but I don't think most people are gonna disagree, at the very least. So here's the thing, when you take a night shot with this, it's incredible. The one little issue that I have very consistently is that it can actually be kind of inconsistent. Sometimes it'll produce a good looking night sky, other times it'll make it look very blue and very bright, and it'll be noise free, there'll be no artifacting or anything like that. But it will be exceptionally bright and very unnatural, which bothers me a lot because you see, there are smartphones out there like the iPhones and the Xiaomi 13 Ultra or the 13 Pro, which have absolutely phenomenal night skies. Oh, and before I forget, selfies. Selfies are the absolute best that I've ever taken on any smartphone from this one. Now, even though I don't actually take them in real life outside of camera comparisons, I have taken hundreds of thousands of selfies. And by far, nothing has been as consistent as the X100 Pro. Again, all I have is compliments. And that, to an extent, it bothers me a little, because I want to complain. Yeah, as usual, the videography is just not going to be any good. So I did make a comparison with the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the best in videography that you can ever have. That's always going to be the case. And yeah, I still think the iPhone 15 Pro Max is the best there is, because of a number of reasons. You can check out the comparison I made. But when I saw this go up against the iPhone, and you know, just a regular 4K 30 main camera, 4K 30 ultra wide camera, and just how the 8K worked, I was just sitting there, and in my mind, this is what happened. Excusez-moi, why? What is happening? It's not supposed to be this good. Is the iPhone bad? The iPhone can't be bad. No, wait. My mind was an absolute haywire right there. This probably sounds very stupid as I said it, but I'm telling you, the videography, somehow, it's leaps and bounds ahead of what we had with the X80 Pro, the X90 Pro, and Vivo didn't even make a big deal about it. They were like, yeah, it's time, might as well, who cares, let's just put everything together, make this the best bloody flagship there is, why not? They can also, the X100 Pro can also take phenomenal video that stacks up against the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Why did no one tell me about that? That's my complaint over here. Now, there are some complaints I do have with videography. I think the sharpening that looks good and just balanced enough, to my eyes at least, in photography, I think is overdone when it comes to videos. And yeah, I did only find that out when I zoomed into 500%. Again, that's not something that most people will do, especially when it comes to video. No one's gonna zoom in after the fact. Also, stabilization wasn't quite as good in general on the X100 Pro as opposed to the iPhone, so that's another little complaint that I had. The super stable mode is still 1080p as opposed to the now industry standard QHD or the 2.8K that the iPhone can do, which looks absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, that's one complaint, and that's still a complaint. As for the selfie video, now that's the interesting thing. So when I made the video, I didn't really know that apparently the Chinese version had an update. So here's what happened. I'm thinking of it this way. Vivo, they saw my comparison and they were like, all right, that's it. We shall remedy this instantly. We shall not take a singular second extra. And so naturally, they updated the Chinese version with 4K 60 on the front cameras. For me, if you don't want like the S Pen from the S24 Ultra, or I don't know what you would want from the iPhone, but anyways, if you want iOS for some reason, yeah, if you don't care about those two very specific things, just forget about everything and go for this one. That's the best way to put it. It is genuinely that good, and after I'm done reviewing the S24 Ultra, this is going to be the phone that I'm going to use. Simple as that. Every waking moment I spent with this, I had a blast. Not a singular, proper, genuine complaint. Think about that. To this day, there's always been something or the other. Hell, I trashed the X90 Pro. I remember that not being all that good. I don't even remember if I made a review or not. But anyways, I thought that phone was, one of the failures from Vivo. It was an alright device, but this thing is just, it's up there. It's the absolute best Vivo has ever made. And every single smartphone that comes out this year, they're all gonna have a very, very hard time competing against this baby over here. But anyways, with that said, yes, I do recommend this device. Do I need to tell you that? I don't think so. Anyways, I'm gonna see you guys with many more videos to come. Cheers!